Hello everybody, today we're going to be doing some D&D tier lists for no particular reason. I know there's a lot of people that have started to do these tier lists. I saw iDubbbz do one on fast food, and so that is who I am ripping off. I know that there's a bunch of people that do D&D stuff. I think Esper the Bard does a lot of tier list stuff with D&D stuff, so I'm not going to be trying to rip off like their style or anything. This is just something I'm throwing together last minute just because I kind of felt like doing it. These are a bunch of monsters that I've recently used in my campaigns. And let me tell you, if you came here expecting me to pronounce all the words right, you're wrong. I'm not going to do that. Don't come to this channel if you really love hearing words pronounced the correct way. I would probably pronounce that Duergar or something like that in my game. Let's hear what Matt Mercer has to say.
Duergar.
Okay, Duergar. So I was actually, but again, Duergar. Like I would Duergar, something like it. So right away I have to say Owlbears. That is an S tier, 1,000,000%. I love Owlbears, and that's just a personal thing. I think they're a really kind of weird monster. They don't really have a great backstory in most campaigns. I kind of create my own backstory for them, and they're basically just brutish beasts. But for some reason, I really like the idea of just the hunting capacity of a raptor and a bear kind of mixed and just makes this insane animal. It's just a lot of cool stuff. Plus, I always do stuff with like Owlbear young, which always creates wacky issues and whatnot. So that's always fun. Next up, let's just go through randomly on the list here of what I've I've got Grimlocks. Grimlocks are something that's actually super interesting. These are the, in most universes, including, I believe, Forgotten Realms, Grimlocks are the human, well, they're no longer human. They used to be human worshippers of mind flayers. So, like, mind flayers actually created the Duergar, and they've created a bunch of different races to, like, kind of serve them and stuff. And so these guys are, like, the degenerate, like, just result of humans trying to worship mind flayers back when mind flayers were at their peak of their existence. And they became these insane blind creatures that are just cannibalistic and crazy. And they still serve mind flayers like almost mindlessly. Very interesting monster. I would put them at a solid B. Just because they have a cool backstory and they're creepy, and I don't think a lot of people use them to their fullest extent because they have all these extra senses and stuff, and if you have people in a dark place that don't have dark vision, then this would be a really fun encounter. So, so Aboleth. So I'm going to say Aboleth. Let's see.
Aboleth.
Okay. Marisha Ray said I was right, Aboleth. So these have a really cool backstory on them. They are kind of at odds with a bunch of different people, including mind flayers, and they have this cool system where they make like these slaves with their weird, hagfish stuff that like sloths off them, and they're really smart and old. They're really, really an old enemy. So I would have to put these again. I mean, I haven't really done anything super interesting with them. God, the backstory on these is really cool, though. They would make a very good... I just haven't really implemented. Again, this is a personal list, so I would have to put it in a solid B. Rust monsters! Ooh, so many ways you can use these. So many ways you can annoy players with these. I have an entire section where, like, basically there's this giant rust monster like breeding ground, and like literally like all players have to give up pretty much all their metal accoutrements before they go into this area. So rust monsters, of course, are creatures that eat metal, and there's different rules depending on what version of the rust monster you're going to be using, but I really enjoyed these guys, and they're very annoying to players, and they represent something that's not specifically an evil thing, but it's kind of something that's just a hazard and a monster all in one. That being said, I'm gonna put everything on I don't want to put everything on a B. Personally, rust monsters, I gotta put them at an A. Yeah, I've had a lot of really good encounters.
Bulette.
Bulette. Bulette. I don't know why I was saying Bulette, so.
Bulette.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, these could be super interesting. Land Shark, they have some pretty strong attacks. It's a pretty vicious enemy and a scary enemy, but there's not a huge amount. I haven't done anything that great with them, so I think this is a solid C tier monster. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have had some interesting stuff. I always have an adventure where players are trying to hunt for animals, and they end up attacking a Bulette by accident, or the animal that they've managed to hunt gets eaten by a Bulette. So they have the choice to either walk away or then try to kill the Bulette and eat that instead. So that's interesting. C tier though. Skeletons. Okay, the thing with skeletons is, are we talking about the normal human skeleton, or are we talking about all the different variations? Because, man, I've been having a lot of fun with halfling skeletons and stuff. I can't really talk too much about what I've been doing lately with skeletons, because that would actually be a spoiler for my upcoming video. But, yeah, no, I gotta put these at A. Just because the things that you can do with undead skeletons, basic stuff like that, very interesting. There's the new artwork. I forget which book it's from. Just of like just a sea of skeletons, just activating and going after a player character in the artwork, and that was really cool. I think if you want to, yeah, but no, there's a lot of usefulness when it comes to skeletons. So I gotta put them solid A tier stuff. Goblinoids. Now, this is a picture of a hobgoblin, I believe, but goblinoids in general have a very interesting story in 5e. If you don't have Volo's Guides to Monsters, it's a very interesting stuff. Hobgoblins, goblinoids in particular, I mean, it's kind of like the very interesting storyline with their gods and whatnot. I gotta put these right on A tier. Goblinoids, super cool. Really like it. Displacer Beast. I had a couple good encounters with these, but unfortunately I haven't been able to figure out a creative way to use them. They're really recognizable now, so people kind of like get it right away, unless you're dealing with somebody who has not done D&D before. They're going to recognize what it is, and they're going to kind of realize the trick of fighting it pretty simply. So I'm going to put this in C tier. That's a personal feeling of mine. I'm sure there's a way you can creatively use a Displacer Beast, which will make it interesting. But unfortunately, I have not figured that out lately. Gnolls! Oh, man. Gnolls, the backstory of Gnolls really is not that interesting, but they're this, like, kind of, like, thing that you can work into your story where, like, man, they are just, like, this race of just marauding horrible creatures that can be used in a story just as a kind of either like another evil force somehow figures out a way to use them in some way, or there's some conflict between them and another group. So yeah, Gnolls are super interesting, and I've used them to really great effect. And speaking purely mechanically, there's many different types you can throw out the players, including the Witherlings, which are Gnoll skeletons, which are really kind of cool. So they're not exactly mindless, but they do just, if you want an emphasis to push things forward, Gnoll invasion is always good. So actually, I'm saying Gnolls. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Let's find out, shall we?
No.
No, I was saying Gnoll. Gnoll.
No.
No. Okay, yeah. So saying that wrong again. So yeah, I gotta put that in A tier just because I've been using them so well lately. Really good backstory, whatnot. Grung! Ah, man. Shoot. And now I forget. So I remember now it was Matt Mercer who took the Girls Guts and Glory crew out on a adventure to Chult, and they had a really good interaction with a Grung thing that wasn't combat. Grungs are great. They're evil little but at the same time, they do have their own little way that they do things, and they're cute little buggers that can't rely on strength, so you have to actually be smart when you're dealing with them, otherwise players will just steamroll them. So yeah, no, Grung are great. I gotta say, for all the fun that my players have had dealing with Grung in my latest campaigns. I got to put them on S tier. They're really good. Anytime I introduce those little froggy boys into a game, it's been a very good time. So awesome. Mind Flayers. Mind Flayers. The classic, a classic D&D enemy. Man, just the idea behind them is awesome. The fact that they have so many enemies and there's so many ways you could step up. You could literally have a Mind Flayer campaign and have like 4 different groups of creatures that want to wipe out the Mind Flayers. And the Mind Flayers have all these weird allies from back in the day when they controlled like this huge spaces from beyond time and whatnot. And they're very interesting, and they're weird, and they're otherworldly, and there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with Mind Flayers. I gotta put Mind Flayers. A lot of the stuff though is a little bit played out though, so you gotta work a little bit harder to make them interesting. I gotta put them a solid A. If there was an A plus, I put them there. But yeah, Beholders played out unfortunately. Most players don't. Most players have dealt with these a lot, like the whole Waterdeep thing, and then, yeah, Mind Flayers are kind of played out, unfortunately, and most players are going to deal with the Mind Flayers like they have to kill them, and there's no other option. Like, I tried to play one kind of as an NPC, and the players just decided that he must be an evil mastermind, and they had to kill him, so they went full force and killed him rather than dealing with him as an NPC. So yeah, I'm gonna have to degrade this one. They're super awesome. The mechanics are a little bit weird. I think the variations are super cool if you have some of the books that have variations on them. But unfortunately, unless you have a beholder that's your main bad guy for a section of the campaign, players are gonna kind of focus on that as the main evil, and they're going to ignore everything else. So I got to put them at a B. And again, personal list, this is just how my game is kind of broke down. Not the greatest. You know, there's several smaller beholders you can have. So if you want a beholder in your game that's probably maybe perceived as less of a threat, you could perhaps try one of the beholderkin. That would be interesting. Oozes. I mean, this is a little bit unfair because this is like, it's a little less specific because there's many different types of oozes. Gonathar, the evil god of oozes that I believe Ed Greenwood came up with back in the day. That was one of the weird drow gods. Or just general gods of the Underdark. I've been having some super cool fun delving into that old stuff. I forget which book it's in, but Gonathar ended up being a super interesting monster and super evil antagonist, though. Very alien, very interesting. You can do a lot with oozes. I gotta say, again, I think that I've been having a lot of fun with them lately, so I gotta upgrade that. I gotta give it a solid. I gotta give that a solid 8. And you know what? I'm downranking Beholder too, because considering the fun that I've had with all those, I can't necessarily do that. Orc. Ugh. So here's the thing with orcs. They're boring compared to what the hobgoblins are now. The orcs just serving their one-eyed grumsh master. I don't know. Maybe there's some lore out there that I just haven't encountered. Honestly, like of all the stuff that I've read in the books, and I've been reading all the books recently, and I've been trying to prepare stuff, orcs are just boring. It's just like there's just no way. Like I know. Ari Salvador just recently did a thing where he tried to kind of make the many arrow orcs kind of sue for peace for a little bit, but then he just kind of said, well, they're just evil, so it's going to break down after a while, and they're going to be back to just being the random evil orcs. So I gotta say D, unless you are like figuring out like a way to unless you're figuring out a way to do these things that's super interesting. Like they're just boring. They're just boring. That's all there is. It's boring, and I don't like it. It's boring. Yeah, well, if you can find a very interesting way to use orcs that players have not seen already in pop culture, regardless if they've been playing D&D, I'd like to see it. Orcs, sort of boring. And finally, I don't even know how to pronounce this.
Sahuagin.
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 Sahuagin. Yeah, who? Okay, here's the deal. If there's a cool way people have implemented this, I don't know of it. I've seen how different people have used it in different ways, but again, through all my readings of D&D stuff, nothing really came up of it, and I have not found an interesting way to put these in the game. Sahuagin. Maybe there's a way to do it. I don't know. As far as I know, I just have not been able to figure out a way to do it. So yeah, that is my tier list right now. And frankly, if you watch my channel, this really shouldn't be that big of a surprise. But yeah, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. If you have a better way to organize this, also let me know in the comments. So this has been my tier list of D&D monsters that I've used recently. I hope you enjoyed it.